The Raiders continue to tinker with their roster, something I expect they're going to do a whole lot of. Plus, we'll get to know Touchdown Tommy Mellott. That plus more on Tuesday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for May 13th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, that's awesome. You're checking us out by way of the YouTube page. You know we appreciate that both. Again, the show grows in a major way because of you and the job that my man Ari does behind the scenes on the YouTube page, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day. So we shout him out. We appreciate him. Does a lot of fine work. You can check him out on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, as many of you do, 707-654-4693. That's the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, as we traditionally do. We'll close out the show hearing from you. A lot of good feedback, a lot of calls, a lot of texts. We'll do that segment number 3 as we close things out. Segment number 2, I teased it on Monday's show. Going to talk about Touchdown Tommy Mellott and the fact that Good Morning Football, NFL Network, Kyle Brandt Company did a big-time feature on a 6th-round pick from the FCS, right? A guy who is a quarterback, was a quarterback at Montana State, but is going to be a wide receiver, going to be a kick returner, maybe have a couple passes here and there. Maybe Chip Kelly will line him up to have a little Taysom Hill type action. But they did a big-time feature on him. I thought it was really cool. Talked about it. Want to make sure that you get a chance to hear it. Again, kind of going with the theme that there's a lot of folks on the outside talking about the Raiders, whether it's their ownership, Tom Brady and company, their GM, John Spytek, their head coach, Pete Carroll, the roster that they're trying to put together, and the expectation for 2025. But there's been a lot of conversation around the silver and black, so you'll hear that feature on Touchdown Tommy Mellott coming up in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, it's always news and notes of the day, and most of it has to do with the roster as the Raiders keep doing what the Raiders are going to do, which is tinker with the roster. So on Monday, they made these following signings official. First of all, Jafari Harvey, defensive end from SMU. They added him to the roster. Keytron Jackson Jr., he's a wide receiver from Baylor. Got to do a feature on him and all the Baylor guys that they've added by way of undrafted free agents. Keytron Jackson Jr. is a guy that I've been hearing a lot of really good things. If you've been listening to the show for a long time, knows that I cover Baylor for a long time. I don't know Keytron. I'd be lying to you if I act like I did, but trust and believe I know the people that do. So I'll definitely reach out and get a little bit of a deep dive on all the Baylor guys that are on the current Raiders roster. It's like 3 or 4 of these guys that they've signed undrafted free agents. I know it's at least 3, so we'll definitely do that at some point. Maybe we'll get that done this week. But he was added to the mix. Jalen Smith, linebacker, talked about him on Monday's show. Actually recorded Monday's show a little bit early on Sunday since it was Mother's Day and wanted to make sure to be able to enjoy the Mother's Day weekend with my mom, with Mama Q, and so we did that. So recorded it, talked about Jalen Smith, had been in for a workout over the weekend. Well, in fact, on Monday, the Raiders officially signed him, and I know later on Sunday evening it was being reported that the Raiders did sign him, but they made it official on Monday, so he last was with the Silver and Black in 2023. Apparently he's healthy enough to at least go out there and compete. Veteran, been there, done that, phenomenal at Notre Dame until the bowl game, tore up his knee, and then he just never was the same guy. Obviously, he had some really good moments with the Dallas Cowboys. Now he's going to get an opportunity in that linebacking room that I think a lot of us will question how good it really is going to be, and do they have enough guys in that linebacking room to go compete. Keyshawn Smith, wide receiver out of SMU. They added him to the mix on Monday. Wesley Steiner, linebacker out of Washington State, added him to the mix, and Jonathan Sutherland, the safety from Penn State. So 2 linebackers officially signed on Monday, and Jalen Smith and also Wesley Steiner. So to make room for those guys, you got to waive some people, right? You got to make some room on the 90-man roster, and of course they have 91 because they do have a player from the NFL International, the Gateway program, so he doesn't count against the 90-man roster. So they waived tackle Dominic Boyd from Georgia Southern, linebacker Amari Burney, right? We just talked about him. He's from Florida. We talked about him because, well, there was guys that are on the roster, and we were wondering if they were going to be able to, maybe step up and be a better player, or be a guy that, kind of makes that position group a little bit less of a weakness or a glaring hole. And it's funny because we literally were just talking about the linebacker room and talking about the 2 Amaris, Amari Gaynor and Amari Burney. And then all of a sudden on Monday, they make official Amari Burney. He's out of there. Matthew Butler, a guy that the defensive tackle from Tennessee, a guy that Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels drafted. He was once waived. He was put on the practice squad, but they waived him again. So there you go. Matthew Butler, he's no longer with the Silver and Black. I think he was a 4th-round pick. I can't remember, just a few seasons ago, but he's no longer there. And then Tyreek McAllister, and this one kind of surprised me, wide receiver from Charleston, West Virginia, but more importantly, a special teams guy. He had a nice little run in the preseason last year. He was able to take a punt return to the house, and this has been one of my biggest pet peeves with the Raiders. And it's been my biggest pet peeve with the Raiders for a very long time. Outside of not winning enough games, their special teams units are never a threat. Now, when it comes to punting and field goal kicking, phenomenal, right? I have no complaints with A.J. Cole, Daniel Carlson. But, man, when it comes to a threat in the return game, it's just not there, and it drives me crazy. The Raiders have not had a kickoff return touchdown since Jacoby Ford did it. Jacoby Ford. The last thing Jacoby Ford did was play Cliff Branch at Allegiant Stadium when they did that tribute to Cliff just a couple seasons ago. Like, Jacoby Ford has been retired from the NFL for so long, and every time I have him on my radio show, I'm like, yep, well, the Raiders still haven't returned one on a kickoff since you. And as much as he wants to see that change, he's also kind of like, well, it's kind of cool to be the guy that was the last one to kick return. But there's guys that have 2, 3, 4 kick return touchdowns in a season. There's teams that do it multiple times. Hell, there's teams that do it multiple times in a game. And the Raiders haven't done it in years. And then their last punt return touchdown was Dwayne Harris. And remember when they had that, we all thought it was the last game at the Oakland Coliseum that turned out not to be the last game at the Oakland Coliseum, but he took it 99 yards to the house on the punt against the Denver Broncos. Remember that, where everyone was like, no, get away. Oh, go. Like, remember that one? That was the last time they had a punt return. They just don't have a threat in the return game. Like, there's never a time when an opposing team looks at the Raiders and says, well, better not kick it to that guy because he might take it to the house. There's never been that time. I mean, I know Amir Abdullah did okay on the kick returns. I thought he was going to break one. Hunter Renfrow, when he was filling that void, thought he was going to break one. He actually took one to the house, but he got called back on a holding penalty that was pretty suspect. But still, I mean, just to be able to see those in my head and know that, oh, that was almost a return. That was almost a return. That lets you know that it doesn't happen that often. So Tyreek McAllister, he got waived. I don't know who's going to be the Raiders' threat, but they need to establish a threat in the kick return game. Not the kick game, not the punting game, but the kick return game. So McAllister, he was waived on Monday officially. Brandon Smith, linebacker from Penn State, also waived. So they signed 2 linebackers and they waived 2 linebackers. And they also released Christian Wilkerson, not to be confused with Christian Wilkins, but Christian Wilkerson is the wide receiver. I remember when the Raiders signed Christian Wilkins as a free agent, the big defensive tackle, and we were all going to the facility for his introductory press conference. I kept calling him the whole show. Kept calling him Christian Wilkerson because I kept getting him confused with the wide receiver, which, one, shame on me. But I remember Raider Nation's like, Q, don't get to the facility and call him the wrong name. I was like, no, not going to do that. Just messed up on the podcast. Apologies. But, yeah, so Christian Wilkerson is no longer with the team as he was released on Monday. Almost did it again right there. So that's the roster moves that the Raiders made official on Monday. And trust and believe they'll make plenty more where that came from. Also, the NFL is the kings of, promotion. We know the schedule release is going to come in official on the 14th, which is later on this week, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We'll know every game, what day it's going to be played for the Raiders and every team across the National Football League. But what do? They have a slow drip process that kind of drives me crazy. I'm just like, hey, man, just give us the schedule and let's call it a day. But I get it. It's great for drama. It's great for TV. It's great for, being able to talk about what we know so far. Week 1 opening game is going to be that Thursday Night Football, Cowboys at the Eagles. That's going to be September 4th. Eagles defending champs, Cowboys, NFC East rival. That'll be a big one. That obviously will get everyone lathered up for the NFL season. Then the very next night, Friday Night Football, Chargers versus Chiefs, Friday Night Football from Brazil. Now, this is something I want to bring this to the table because I didn't know this. This is actually something that Pro Football Talk, they had in an article that I noticed, and I was like, hey, what is this all about? Because I had never heard of this. The Chargers and any team that is given an international game, they're allowed to protect 2 home games. So the Chargers did not protect any games of their AFC West division games. So they thought, okay, the games that are coming to LA that aren't the usual suspects, the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Raiders, yeah, we don't care if that game ends up in Brazil internationally. We care about the games that aren't normally going to be in LA, right? The teams that they'll be playing this year, like the Steelers, like the Eagles, they rather have those games in LA where those teams can come to SoFi Stadium as opposed to worrying about the Raiders, the Broncos, or the Chiefs. So they get Chargers and Chiefs Friday Night Football from Brazil. That's going to be September 5th. And I'm sure they were probably hoping that it was going to be the Raiders because, as we know, even though the Raiders don't take advantage of it, their action in LA at SoFi Stadium, obviously it's a Raider crowd on Charger home games. It's no doubt about it, even though the Raiders don't go there, capitalize and win and take advantage of the crowd. But it's definitely a Raider home game at SoFi Stadium. So they probably were hoping that the Raiders were going to end up in Brazil, but in fact it's going to be the Chiefs and Chargers in Brazil. Black Friday, Week 13, November 28th. The Raiders? No. Bears at Eagles. So the defending champs get another one. Black Friday game. I'll go to my grave and tell you that the Raiders should be playing on Black Friday. They should be playing on Black Friday every single year, just like the Detroit Lions were playing on Thanksgiving or do play on Thanksgiving every single year, just like the Cowboys play on Thanksgiving every single year. And don't tell me, well, the Raiders aren't good enough to have a game where it's like that. Well, look, again, as I mentioned, the Lions have been on Thanksgiving forever, and they always stunk. They just now got good. Now, I know they have Barry Sanders. He was fun to watch, but again, I'll go to my grave and tell you, Black Friday, it only makes sense that the Silver and Black in the Black Stadium host that game every single Black Friday. But 3 times so far, no games have been hosted by the Raiders. Now, yeah, they played on Black Friday last year in Arrowhead, right? The red stadium with all the red seats and the Chiefs went red. Again, don't get me on my soapbox because I get angry about it. But Black Friday, Week 13, Bears at Eagles. That's going to be November 28th. Week 16, Fox has a Saturday doubleheader, Eagles at Commanders and Packers at Bears. That's December 20th. And oh, by the way, college football playoffs will be going on that day too. So nothing but football action on Saturday, December 20th. And then the Christmas game, Week 17, Broncos at Chiefs. Again, that's obviously December 25th. But the Chiefs have been trying to make the Christmas game a Chiefs game where they're featured every single Christmas. Again, going back to my anger about Black Friday. So the Chiefs can request Christmas and they be featured on Christmas each and every year, but the Raiders can't request Black Friday? Don't get me going because I'm already going to get fired up about that. But that's what we know. We'll know all the schedule for the Silver and Black, and of course, we'll break it all down when we get it in our hands on September 14th. Again, 5 p.m. Pacific time is when the league will release every schedule across the National Football League. But that's what I got for you for segment number 1 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Little news and notes of the day. Coming up, segment number 2, what Good Morning Football Kyle Brandt had to say about Touchdown Tommy Mellott. They did a really good feature. You'll hear that next here on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about one of our great sponsors here on the show, and that is FanDuel. The NBA playoffs, you know they're in full swing. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. You know, the funny thing is I was watching that Cavaliers and Pacers game on Sunday when the Pacers just blew out the Cavaliers. It was embarrassing. I had a guy that was actually betting Tyrese Halliburton over 17.5 points on the game. He only ended up with 11 points, and they still blew out the Cavaliers. But watching that blowout, as bad of a game as that was, hearing my man get so fired up every time Tyrese Halliburton got the ball in his hand, that made it worth it. That's what having action in on the game is just about, right? You have that action. You have friends that are all fired up and all into everything that is going on. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. You can head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets just like that. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to let you hear the feature that Good Morning Football did on Touchdown Tommy Mellott, 6th-round pick out of Montana State, quarterback, turned wide receiver, probably be a kick returner as well. He's probably going to be a jack of all trades, probably be able to do a little something, everything with the silver and black. But they were very strategic the way that they drafted him. John Spytek didn't have him in for a top 30 visit, didn't go to his pro day, try not to show him any attention whatsoever, right? Tom McMahon, the special teams coordinator, whenever they were on their special teams, text exchange with different coordinators across the league, acted like he didn't even know who he was, just to try to throw other teams off the scent and not draw attention to the fact that the Raiders had interest in the FCS product from Montana State. Well, going through the channels the other morning last week, saw Good Morning Football, saw Kyle Brandt. They do a fantastic job on the NFL Network, one of my favorite channels. Think that they're going to be merging with ESPN at some point, but that's another conversation. They did a fantastic feature on Tommy Mellott. So I thought it was really cool. It's not that often that you hear and see a feature done on a 6th-round pick. I don't care if he's an FCS player or not. You don't always see those kind of features done. So they had about 2.5 minutes of highlights just showing the different plays that he was making. Obviously, I'm not going to bring that to the table because unless you're watching on the YouTube page, you wouldn't be able to see it. But what they had to say about Touchdown Tommy, I thought was fantastic. So here's what Kyle Brandt had to say about the quarterback from Montana State, turn wide receiver for the Raiders. Touchdown Tommy Mellott.
Touchdown Tommy Mellott. That's who you're looking at. Why are we talking about him? Because his name's Touchdown Tommy, and it's really fun. And he is now one of the Las Vegas Raiders. He was drafted in the 6th round, pick 213. And he's got this sort of folk hero status in certain parts of the country and parts of football. And now he goes to an organization like this, and there's all kinds of buzz about Touchdown Tommy Mellott. If you're watching and you're my age, first of all, you're saying, hold on, Touchdown Tommy. That's Touchdown Tommy Vardell. That's the OG. Don't come with, and I totally get it. And we will give you a Touchdown Tommy Vardell touchdown behind Corey Schlesinger. This is the guy who used to be known as Touchdown Tommy. There's a new guy now. All right, and that's him. So we're talking Montana State. Understand what this guy has done. This guy played quarterback. He played Wildcat quarterback. He played wide receiver. He played special teams. As a freshman at Montana State, in a playoff win against Sam Houston, in the first 16 minutes of the game, Touchdown Tommy Mellott caught a touchdown, threw for a touchdown, and rushed for a touchdown. Not in the game, in the first 16 minutes. Then he goes on to be the best player in FCS, to have this massive career at Montana State. And this is what I like about it. Scholar Athlete Award as well. Listen to the classes that this new Las Vegas Raider took in college. Economics, financial engineering, calculus. He took all of that stuff and had a 4.0 grade point average, won the FCS Scholar Athlete of the Year award. So super, super smart. Then in this 2024 season, he goes 15-1, 31 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions only. And here's what's fascinating as it pertains to the NFL. Touchdown Tommy Mellott's head coach at Montana State, fans, was Brent Vigen. Brent Vigen was Carson Wentz's quarterback coach at North Dakota State. Brent Vigen was Josh Allen's offensive coordinator at Wyoming. So Touchdown Tommy's head coach coached a number 2 overall pick in the draft and the reigning MVP. And now he is a Raider. Raiders scouting director Brandon Jurgens said this about Mellott. Listen, he's an athlete. We're not going to pigeonhole him, but they got big plans for him. And Mellott's agent reportedly talked with Raiders special teams coordinator Tom McMahon, who happens to be from Montana, and said they wanted Mellott to run 10 fake punts per season. 10 is a lot of fake punts. If they do 3, that would be something, but they might have something in Mellott. And if you're going to do that, the guy has to be crazy athletic. Let's get into how athletic Touchdown Tommy Mellott is. We have what we like to call a blind resume. So on the left, Touchdown Tommy, okay? On the right, mystery player. They're the same height. Tommy's significantly heavier. They're the same speed. Tommy has a better vertical. They have the same broad jump. Touchdown Tommy Mellott on the left. Who is on the right? Who's a comp athletically for him? Let me see. Reveal the blind resume, and we'll find out who has the same.
Lord.
Guys, that's Garrett Wilson. That's the number 10 overall pick in the draft. That's the Rookie of the Year. That's one of the most gifted playmakers in the league. And Touchdown Tommy Mellott has better numbers than he does. I understand there's all kinds of other factors, but the pure measurables, it's Tommy. Understand there were 329 players at the NFL Combine this year. Tommy Mellott was not invited. Only 2 players outside of him weighed 200, ran below 4.4, and jumped 40-inch verticals. Those 2 guys and Tommy. So you might say, what's his comp? Where do we put him? Well, that question was put to him new Las Vegas Raider, Touchdown Tommy Mellott. And who do you model your game after? Take it away.
You know, I grew up as a huge Julian Edelman fan. I obviously played quarterback in college and made that transition. And I remember when he was a rookie, he obviously played on the offensive side of the ball. But he, was really big as a punt returner, and that's what I, loved to watch him for. I've obviously always played quarterback, but I think my athleticism will be much better, sought after at an athletic position like wide receiver, returner, and possibly whatever it might be that they ask of me. I'm excited to use it in that way.
You got skills like that guy, you got tape like that guy, and you say the word Julian Edelman, you got people's attention, especially since Jules' quarterback is now one of the owners of the Raiders who just drafted Touchdown Tommy Mellott. The Edelman comp is there. If he's a fraction of Edelman, if he's out there making tackles like Edelman did on Vince Young on the Eagles, which is crazy to see, Touchdown Tommy Mellott will be something. And we'll just tip the cap quickly to some of these other great players who were college quarterbacks who had different roles in the NFL. Antoine Randall, quarterback at Indiana. On a personal note, the best player I have ever been on the field with. Terrell Pryor was suspended at Ohio State for free tattoos. Now you're allowed to take Mercedes-Benz. And the fact is, he goes to the league. He does a bunch of different things. How about... Remember Matt Jones, first-round pick as a college quarterback turned wide receiver? And then all-time friend of the show, Josh Cribbs, who was a quarterback at Kent State, didn't get drafted, and then became a Browns legend as a special teamer. Guys, Touchdown Tommy Mellott has the nickname. He has the natural ability. He has a team on the way up with the head coach in Pete Carroll, a quarterback in Geno Smith, and an owner in Tom Brady, where this could be something fun. And when it does, remember on May 8th, 2025, Good Morning Football was talking about him.
A lot of cool fun facts there about Touchdown Tommy. And I just thought that it was really cool that they did that feature. They had the highlights there. I've done a lot of different deep dives on my radio show about Tommy, and just excited to see what he brings to the table. Excited to see how the Raiders are able to use him. If he's a guy that could have a Taysom Hill role, a Josh Cribbs role, a Julian Edelman, who was one of his idols growing up. If he can have any kind of role like that with the Raiders, I think only good things could happen, right? Chip Kelly's got another piece now to get creative with. That's what I think the most exciting thing is, the fact that he's just, got more weapons to get creative with. We saw that offense last year look stale, look boring, look very uncreative. This is not what it should look like this year. There should be a lot of creativity to it. Should be a lot of the run game, obviously. The quarterback play should be a lot better. Everything should be better. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? Until they actually do it, put it on film, put it on the field. It's all just speculation, but it does feel like it should be a lot better than it was a season ago. So hopefully you appreciated that feature there on Touchdown Tommy by Good Morning Football and Kyle Brandt. Coming up in segment number 3, your calls and texts will close us out, 707-654-4693. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts draft that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start off with a call from Jose from McAllen, Texas. He's actually calling to talk about the upcoming schedule and what he feels as far as home and away games go. Here he is, Jose from McAllen, Texas.
Hey, what's up, Q? This is Jose calling from McAllen, Texas, representing the Raider Nation down here, where it's the majority is Cowboys Nation. Love the podcast. I always watch you guys on YouTube in the mornings as I'm getting ready for work, and big shout out to Ari too for making this possible with his magic. So just a couple thoughts I had here on our schedule, which I know it's going to be released this Wednesday, but just had a couple thoughts here on the home opponents and away opponents. So I think away we have one of the toughest schedules because 6 out of the 8 teams we're going to face away made the playoffs last year, including our 3 division rivals and the Texans, Eagles, and Commanders. And then we also got the Colts, which I think we can beat, and the Patriots, which I don't know, that's kind of up in the air. We'll see how good they turn out with their new head coach. But home, same thing, We got 3 teams in our division that made the playoffs, and the other 6, they didn't make it. And I think I feel pretty confident that we can beat those other 6 opponents at home, which are the Jaguars, Titans, Cowboys, the Giants, the Browns, and the Bears. I think, we take care of business with those 6 teams. and get at least 3 wins, either away or home, with our division rivals, that's already 9 games there that we're looking at. And if we can steal another away game either from the Texans, the Colts, even the Eagles or Commanders or the Patriots, or even 2, that would be better, right? That would easily put us at 10 or 11 wins for the season. So, I think it's possible. I think we get a playoff spot this year and possibly, more likely a wild card, right? I think there's a lot of good teams in the AFC, but those are just some thoughts I had. Let me know what you think, and go Raiders.
Jose, my man, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. It's so hard to guesstimate right now at this stage of the game how they're going to go when it comes to W's and L's, especially without having the actual schedule in our hands, right? I mean, we don't know the order of the games. We don't know when the bye week is, when the cold weather games like Philly and the Commanders, are they early in the season? Are they late? When do they go to Arrowhead? When are they in Denver? Like, all that plays a role. We know the teams. We know who they're going to play. We just don't know when. So it's really hard to just kind of go through it all. I mean, we know home and away, Denver, KC, LA, right? You already mentioned that. The rest of the home games, Jacksonville, the Titans, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Browns, and the Bears. Those are all the home games. Away games, again, Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers, but you got the Texans, Houston, that'll be fine. The Colts, that'll be fine. That's indoors. Philly, that could be a super cold game. Washington could be a super cold game. And the Patriots could be a super cold game, right? And again, not saying that they can't win a super cold game, but it's just not ideal, right? The Raiders don't want to be stuck with too many, cold weather games like that. So when we actually get the schedule, and I'm sure we'll still have more of a slow drip process until we actually get it on the 14th at 5 p.m. Pacific time, it's hard to tell. Of course, when that happens, though, Jose, we'll go through the schedule with a fine-tooth comb. We'll all make our predictions. We'll all be wrong, but we'll all go through it. So thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Tadris in New Jersey. It says, hey, Q, Tadris from New Jersey. When it comes to Howard from Oakland and Proto from Vancouver, let's recognize the one big move the Raiders made this offseason that no one's talking about. Mark Davis hiring the guy that has success building championship organizations. Please remind us of his name and how he likes to build teams. Go into your vault and let's review those gems you dropped on us about him. We compare those notes on him with what we're seeing the team doing now. I'm sure that's why this feels different, that we can be confident going into the season. Mark Davis' decision needs to get more praise. Just win, baby. That's Tadris in New Jersey talking about the hiring of Pete Carroll. I would say that's also having Tom Brady be a part minority owner. And I would say that I would go a little further and say that it has to do with John Spytek being hired as well, because John Spytek's been part of teams that have been built the right way in Tampa Bay, and in Denver. So I would say that it's more than just Pete Carroll. It's everyone. It's all of the above, but you're absolutely right. And Mark Davis continues to understand what he doesn't know and tries to put the right people in place. He's obviously swung and missed multiple times, but he's not afraid to get up to the bat and swing again. And it feels like, for every reason that you just pointed out, that he got it right this time around. Obviously, there's still time. We'll see. We'll see when they put the team together and they actually get on the field. But it does feel like things are a lot better than they have been in recent years. Tadris, thanks so much for that text. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Easy E from L.A. He's calling to talk about Amari Cooper and the conversation of re-signing with the team. Here he is, Easy E from L.A.
Hey, this is Easy E calling from Los Angeles. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about bringing back Amari Cooper now. Once upon a time, I was an Amari Cooper fan, but when they traded him to Texas, to the Cowboys, he made the statement of, when I was with the Raiders, I didn't feel like I was in the NFL. I didn't feel like I had made it to the NFL till I got to the Cowboys. Now that statement to me, as an NFL player, that should never come out your mouth. So, I'm like, I don't need myself. I don't want him back. But if they decide that that's where the direction they want to go, I'm sure Pete Carroll will get him to either act right or he won't be there. Because to me, if you get a check from the NFL, rest assured you are a professional football player and you need to act like it. That's all I got to say. Whatever you do in life, do your best. You know, he's been playing football here since Pop Warner. You ain't in Pop Warner no more. You in the NFL, you getting a check, bring it. That's all I got to say. Raider Nation for life. I'm out.
Man, every time I say Eazy-E from L.A., all I can think about is, because the boys in the hood are always hard. Come talking that trash, we'll pull your guard. We know nothing in life but to be legit. Don't quote me, boy, because, well, y'all can finish the rest. Anyway, every time I hear Eazy-E from L.A., that is all I could think of is the boys in the hood. But anyway, thanks for the call. The thing about Amari Cooper that's funny, he seems like he never really was bothered by anything or excited by too much, right? It just kind of seems like, I say it all the time about people, he's just a different cat. Like, I never really quite understood Amari Cooper. When the Raiders drafted him out of Alabama, I was fired up. This dude runs routes and ran routes like the best in the business. I think Amari Cooper could have been an elite wide receiver, and he never was that guy because he always seemed like he was just, kind of ho-hum, kind of just satisfied with whatever. Like, I don't have to be elite. Matter of fact, there was a time when he said, I don't need a whole lot of passes thrown my way. I'm cool with, throwing the ball to me multiple times, a few times a game. I'm good with that. Like, I never wanted my receiver to be that. I want my receiver to be somewhat greedy. Now, I don't want him to be a jerk, but I also kind of want him to be like, hey, man, I'm a volume catcher. Give me the rock because I'm going to do some really good things. Amari Cooper just, again, wasn't disruptive, wasn't a bad guy, still got a lot of respect for him. He just never seemed like, he wanted to push himself to be elite. And then, of course, he had the concentration drops that he always has, and, he's got the injury history as well. So if the Raiders add him, the Raiders add Keenan Allen, the Raiders add any veteran wide receiver, I'm sure it won't be till training camp until, they start to see that, okay, we're going to need a guy. Maybe Jack Besh isn't coming along as quickly as we thought. That's how I think it's all going to play out when it comes to a vet wide receiver. But thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Raider Jason in the 304. Hey, Q. Raider Jason from the 304. I was hoping that I can give a shout-out to Derek Carr. He announced his retirement over the weekend. I always believed in him, and the organization didn't get a functional defense until he was gone. I'm with you on 2016. What if? Anyways, in my opinion, there was always too much criticism around him. He had a great career, truly a class act. Hopefully the new staff can stabilize the position again. As always, love the show. Just win, baby, and go Raiders. That's Raider Jason in the 304. Yeah, I think that, showing some respect to Derek Carr, there's nothing wrong with that, right? And it's so funny when you talk about him because, it's like even when you talk about him in a good way, which I felt like I did pretty glowingly on Monday, there's still confusion. Right? They're still like, oh, man, I don't know. You kind of slighted him. I was like, no, not really. Right? I think he did some good things. He wasn't an elite quarterback. I don't think anyone ever thought he was. I wouldn't even say that he was great, but I'd say he was really good. He did a really good job. He stabilized the position. He helped out the organization. The organization didn't really help him out at all, right? Matter of fact, they let him down multiple times. I would think that there's things that he probably look back at his career with the Raiders and say, I could have done this better, like not throw the ball away on fourth down when you have nothing to lose, right? You have to be able to pick up a first down. I'm sure there's other times where he realizes that because of injury, he didn't play at the same level he did before 2016. But look, that's just nitpicking at this stage of the game. I thought he was a really good quarterback for the team, and he did the very best he could. So that's why I thought it was only right to tip the cap to him, give him a little respect on Monday's show. So thanks so much for the text. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Grim Raider from Fredericksburg, Virginia. I dropped some bars. Well, I tried to drop some bars earlier when I was talking about Eazy-E from L.A. Grim Raider is actually calling to drop bars around the 2025 Raiders. Here he is, Grim Raider from Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Hey there, what's up, Q? I just got a rhyme real quick. This is Grim Raider, by the way, from Fredericksburg, Virginia. I just took a little bit of time to write this one out. Hope you can play it out for my nation. There's only one nation. 2025 season, AFC West, Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs, who the best? The least expected, underestimated, the Raiders, most favorite to be hated. Better watch out, better watch your back. Hungry and bloodthirsty, silver and black. Mad Max and the defense on the attack. Brock Bowers, Geno 7, Asher Genti 2. Renegade bad boys in black, what you gonna do? Over there, look, you see it? Redemption. Don't ask, take it, it's yours. From Pete Carroll, Raider Nation. Just win, baby, no exception. Yeah! Woo! Go Raiders! I'm out.
There you go. See, that's why you're the rapper and I'm just the hype man, right? Back in the day when I was in the club, I was never spinning the wax. I was never that DJ that spun the tracks. I was the guy that was on the mic that just hyped up everything, right? So I'll be your hype man if you want me to. You walk into Allegiant Stadium, you stand there next to the torch, and you start dropping your bars. I'll be the hype man in the background being like, yeah, that's right. Tell him, Grim. Where you coming from, Grim? What you got for him? I see you, Pete. Pete Carroll, right? Brock Bowers, like I could do that. I got you. We could be, a group. I'll be the guy in the background, right? You could be the MC. I'll just be the hype man in the back. I could do that. Like back in the day, any of my MC Hammer fans, I could be too big MC, even though I'm not too big, but I could be that guy. I got that skill set, right? I mean, hey man, Chino, right? I can make up something. I got you. I don't even need to know the words. I can do it. Real story. There was a dude that I was really good friends with that was an aspiring rapper, and he always wanted me to rap with him. And I was like, dude, I'm not a rapper. He's like, well, just be my hype man then. I was like, all right, cool. So he gave me the song, and I was supposed to learn it so I can, pick up a word here, Man, I didn't learn that song at all. But it didn't matter because, again, he'd say something, and at the end, I'd like jump on the end of it, right? I would or anticipate what he had to say. It was pretty funny. There's a reason why I talk on the radio, and I'm not a rapper, or I'm not the hype man, right? You don't want to hear me do any of that. But thanks so much for the call. Great little bars that you dropped about the Raiders. It's always good to have a little bit of fun here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. So let's close things out with a text from Tony in Clayton, North Carolina. Says, hey, Q, everything is moving positive and productively in the Raider organization, bruh. But the Raider Nation is divided as the country we live in when it comes to Carr. I create one post on social media, and you think I was running for president. In any event, he was the most consistent quarterback we had, but an injury may have hurt his career. Wasn't perfect, but neither was Stabler, Plunkett, or Gannon. But in this society, if he had one Super Bowl, a third of these critics would welcome him back as I would for a one-day contract to retire as a Raider. Positively, though, Q, it was good to see a 70-some-year-old man as a head coach jogging onto the field with his new team. Yeah, the organization is moving forward. Hopefully, Raider Nation will move on and allow Carr one final bow without booing him out of Vegas. Have a good week, Q, and I'll leave you with one of my memories of Carr, that Thanksgiving game in Dallas. It was a thriller. That's from Tony in Clayton, North Carolina. And, yeah, man, I know. As soon as I saw that tweet on Saturday morning before I went to the barber from Mike Garafolo saying that Carr was retiring, I said, hell of a run for D.C., and oh, man, why did I say that so much, right? But that's kind of how it is on social media. Just got to take the good with the bad. He is one of those guys. There's not a whole lot of them that are very divisive. Like a fan base can't decide if they like him or they hate him. But it seems like he's that guy. I do believe that one day he'll come back and sign a one-day contract and retire a Raider. I do believe that there's a day he's going to light the torch at Allegiant Stadium, the Al Davis Memorial Torch. I do believe that because I believe what Mark Davis says when he says once a Raider, always a Raider. And this dude did it for 9 years. You can go back through the history of all the quarterbacks in the Raiders organization. None of them did it for 9 years. None of them, right? You're talking about the Stablers, the Plunkett's, the Tom Flores's. I mean, all those guys, they had 6, 7, 8 years. Nobody ever had 9. And nobody had over 35,000 passing yards. And I know the game has changed, but I do believe that at some point they'll bring him back. He'll sign that one-day contract, retire a Raider, and, of course, light the torch at Allegiant Stadium. But that's just me. That's just my best guess. That's my anticipation. But that's what I got for you. Thanks for the text. I appreciate you. And that's all I got time for on today's show. Went a little long in segment number 1. Still got a call from Tuck Rule Fool from Colorado. We'll get that in, and we'll get more texts tomorrow. We'll have more news and notes, that's for sure. Bryce Butler, former Raider wide receiver and NFL wide receiver, was actually a guest on my radio show on Monday, and I wanted to bring to the table what he had to say about Pete Carroll and the direction that the organization is going. I didn't get a chance to get it on the show. I talked a little long. Shocking that I talked a little long. So I'll bring that to the table tomorrow. Donald Penn is also supposed to be a guest on my radio show coming up today later on. So maybe if he has some good nuggets to say, maybe about the offensive line, I could bring that to the table as well. So until then, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.